Let's cross now down to Canberra and catch up with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. Thanks for joining us, Pauline.
My pleasure, Chris. Hi.
First up, your thoughts on Gladys Liu. Is this a Sam Dastyari moment?
It seems like it, doesn't it? Because the Labor Party were really hounded by what happened with Sam Dastyari, allegedly taking money from Chinese. Look, I think the Prime Minister has got some answers here, because the Australian public will want answers, and possibly even Peter Dutton's office. They should investigate this, and by the AFP and ASIO, to see if she does have any connections. The Australian people are very concerned about China and its infiltration into our, not only buying up our port in Darwin, plus also farming properties, industry, even spying on us, South China Seas, all this. And, if people think that maybe we've got someone who's infiltrated the Liberal Party into our parliament, it's of grave concern. I don't know if that be the case, but I think questions need to be answered. There's
certainly some questions to be answered, but let's not get carried away with the Sam Dastyari comparisons here. And I was one of the first people to say that Dastyari had to quit not just his front bench position, but Parliament, because there's no doubt he secretly took money from Chinese donors, and he publicly spruiked Chinese foreign policy. So he was in a world of pain there. There are no suggestions. What about the bag of money that the Labor Party have accepted in New South Wales? It's going through the investigation now at the moment. So massive issues there.
Both have got answers to the Australian people, and you can't tell me the Labor Party be keeping quiet on this, because they are just as responsible. The people are fed up with this, with corruption. That's why I stand by Section 44 of the Australian Constitution. You should not have dual citizenship if you're going to represent the Australian people in our parliament, and therefore, I stand by that strongly. I want to know where these people's loyalties lie. We know that China wants to take over and be the first world country to lead the world, and that's what they're trying to do: infiltrate countries around the world, take it over and have control of it. So that concerns me greatly. And if anyone's in this parliament that doesn't have their first and only allegiance to the Australian people, well, I want to know why, and I want an investigation into it, and I'd like her to answer the questions.
Yep, indeed, those donations are a real problem. There are reports today of a donation from a banned Chinese donor going to the Liberal Party in New South Wales, so both sides have problems there as well. But let's drill into the Gladys Liu situation again. As I say, there's no suggestion with her of any money. There is no case to say she's been arguing any foreign policy other than Australia's, as I've just explained. The real critical question here is, was she a member of the Chinese Overseas Exchange Associations, or was she not? Now, she says she's got no idea of that. Surely we just have to find out what involvement she had with those associations. We need to find out that very, very clearly, because if she's been misleading people about that, then her credibility is shot.
That's correct, and she was very evasive. She couldn't answer the question, or she had lack of memory. She didn't understand. We're not just talking over a few months, we're talking over a period of years. So it is very important, I think, she was very evasive in her answers that she gave to Andrew Bolt last night. I questioned, I'm trying to sit there and listen to, give her the benefit of doubt, but she didn't answer my questions in listening to that interview. So therefore, I think she does needs further investigation. I want clarity. I want assurances. I want to know that she is there for the right reasons in a parliament. So, Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, he needs to really give the people an answer to all this.
Absolutely. Well, the point is,
is she the right person for it?
The point is, she wasn't just evasive, she was emphatic. She says she had no recollection of being a part of these organisations, and that where her name has appeared on documents, she says that they've used her name without her permission. Do you believe that that denial is plausible, or could they have used someone else with the same name? I mean, is there any plausible deniability here?
Chris, in all fairness, all I have done is watch an interview and what she's given in the discussion, her explanation. This is why I'm saying it should be investigated by ASIO or the Federal Police to follow this up and find out the truth to the matter. That's where I believe it needs to go now, so that we find out the right answers. I can't speculate and say for sure. All I did was take on my assessment on the interview that I listened to with Andrew Bolt last night.
OK, and we are waiting on a further statement from Gladys Liu. We'll bring that to you just as soon as it becomes available. But going on to some other issues now, Pauline Hanson. And yesterday you brought Jackie Lambie's son and his previous ice addiction into the debate about drug testing for welfare recipients. Do you regret doing that, personalising the debate?
No, why should I? You know, she's raised this on the floor of Parliament herself in the past. It is very important, or she's put it out there herself personally about her son. Now, the whole fact is, it is very important to the whole debate. If you are not going to pass this legislation based on your personal experiences or what's happening in Family Matter, I think it does make it questionable over it. I want to know why. And she said, well, there's not enough money going into it. There's not enough centres. Well, this is a starting point. Let's start with this, because I've got families that are, want answers to their to their kids' drug addictions. If this is a way of actually getting them to admit that they have a drug problem, or we are going to try and help them get off the drugs for the rest of their lives, clean their act up, or stop them from ending up being brain dead or on the health system for the rest of their life, why should we? That's a weak excuse. You say that we haven't got the resources, we haven't got the money. If it's going to work and gets the public support, then we put more money into it and we help the Australian people.
Well, do you think there's any chance of it getting up? Do you think that Jackie Lambie seems to have had differing positions on this? Do you think that she might support this? And are you playing any role in that? Do you actually have a word in her ear at any time, or do you guys not get on so much?
Look, I haven't. I know one of my senior advisors have spoken to her with regards to it. I hope common sense prevails, because I think it's very important. At least the government's looking at trying to make a start with it. And it's only random testing. Look, it's for a 2-year period. We've got 5,000 people that will be tested with it. It's not an invasive test. It's just a swab test of the saliva in the mouth. And then if they've found positive, well, then they've given 28 days to do another test. Then if it comes up positive the second time, then they actually then go through either counselling or educational, or even they need more than that, because it depends on what drugs they're on. Ice, methamphetamines, totally different how they handle the situation. So if it was one of my kids or my grandchildren or any close family member or anyone else that is tied up in drugs, and this is going to help them and bring common sense to the whole debate, I'd say go for it.
Now, around the country, we've seen a whole bunch of local councils from the Sydney City Council, Melbourne City Council, Noosa, Adelaide, right across the country, voting at local government level to declare a climate emergency. You got a gathering in Canberra today of Greens, Zali Steggall, even former Liberal leader John Hewson, saying that Canberra, the national parliament, ought to declare a national emergency, and they're linking it to things like the current fires in Queensland. What are your thoughts about all that, Pauline?
What a load of bloody hogwash, as far as I'm concerned, as if that's going to make any damn difference to what's happening in climate. What they need to have is a meeting of...
When they all vote for a climate emergency, it makes all of them feel good.
Let's pat them all on the back. And it's through government legislation and policy that we're in this mess that we're in. They haven't built the infrastructure, water infrastructure. They've actually brought in native vegetation management acts where you can't clear the land, you can't rake the mulga trees that they bring down purely to feed their cattle. So that's rubbish lying there on the floor of Parliament. They locked up the their national parks, so you can't clean the rubbish on the floor of the national parks, which only earns more fuel to the fire. You've got idiots out there who are actually lighting the fires. It's got nothing to do with climate change. And then you stop the farmers from allowing to feed their cattle on grasslands, because you can't touch the grasslands, because governments have brought in these policies, environmental protection policies, that are just over the top and are destroying this country. And then they want to blame it on climate change, where they can't produce the evidence to say that it is humans with CO2 that is causing this global change. Let's look at the sun, the environment. Let's look at the real scientific facts, empirical evidence, as Malcolm Roberts always says, but that's never put before us. This has been a political agenda from many years ago, people pushing their own agenda, and they're actually about It's all about money making by those big businesses, multinationals, everyone else pushing their own agenda, because at the end of the day, it's the Australian taxpayers that are paying for this through high water costs, high electricity costs, and more product, different product that they're pushing onto the market.
In short, the declaration of a climate emergency won't be getting through the Australian Senate.
Well, it definitely won't be getting my vote, because let's get realistic. Let's put the real science on the table out there. Let the people know the true facts instead of brainwashing our kids through the educational system that have no idea. They're not putting the facts up there about climate change, and temperatures have been worse than what it is today, going back over 100 years ago, before the civilisation is at the numbers that we have and before industrialisation. They are the true facts. There is an agenda here by the United Nations and other protocols and agreements that we've signed, pushing their own agenda at our detriment to our lives here in Australia.